spoke too soon, and we're on the motorway doing about 60, and then I felt it choke. I was like, no, it choked, and it went another sort of, I don't know, half a mile, and it just started to lose power and die. So I pulled over into the hard shoulder. I turned it off for 10 seconds, turned it back on, and we've managed to get it sort of halfway home. So we've got a sensor in here that when it gets hot, because it's a really hot day today, is giving out. So what I've just done, if you come in here, I've just unplugged the camshaft position sensor, and the car still runs. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tuck this lead somewhere, and then we're gonna go out for another drive, and we're gonna see if, and it started to suck above 4,000 again. It just won't rev above 4,000. So what I'm gonna do, this connector is hot, by the way. We're gonna go, I'm gonna unplug this, and we're gonna see if it still sucks. If it doesn't suck, then right here you heard it. This is what causes it. So I'm back home now. This is a few days later after coming home from National Alpha Day. So what happened was, on the way home, I decided to take I unplugged the camshaft position sensor because I wanted to know whether it would run without it. And the answer is it does. You get the injection warning light comes on, but the car actually runs all right. I did notice that maybe it didn't have as much low end torque, but the car still did run, and the car lasted, I don't know, half a mile, and then it just did the same things it normally does. Just totally loses all power, and until you cycle the ignition, the car won't come back. It won't run. So what I've decided is it's probably not the camshaft position sensor. Since the car can run without it, it wouldn't make sense that it would cause it to stall, and it was still behaving the same as before with it disconnected. So in my mind, that leaves one sensor, and I think that's going to be the crankshaft position sensor, the only critical sensor to the running of the car. Don't think it's the fuel pump. A few people have mentioned that it could be the fuel pump. I don't think it's the fuel pump because we did the fuel pressure test. Admittedly, that was without loads, but the fuel pump is behaving normally. And I'm going to attempt to get the crank sensor out the brain surgery way, doing it from the top. So I'll try and do both those things, but for now I'm going to work on getting that air intake out. I'm not going to film it because you've seen me do that a billion times, but I'll get back to you when I'm trying to get that crank sensor out. So the intake's off, and I'm ready to attempt brain surgery. I'm hoping that I'm going to get my hand behind there. I've done it before where I've got this long one in, and I've got it like this, but I don't have enough torque to crack it loose like that. So I'm going to try, get my Allen key behind there, crack it loose like that, then we'll be able to put it back in and spin it out like that. So what I've decided to do is I've got the new crank sensor, and I've zip tied the brown connection end around the crank sensor at the back. I'm going to pull it through there. I've got that sensor in most of the way. Now if my calculations are correct, I can just pull on this. No. There's the crank sensor. That was very difficult to pull through, but I've got it through now. So I'll plug this new end in. So in this next part of the video, you can see me setting up my laptop with multi-ECU scan. And what I do is I set up several parameters that I want to see live data of. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get some ride-along live diagnostics. So I can say, has the crankshaft position sensor fixed it? Has it not? I'll give you a spoiler. It was not the crankshaft position sensor. Although I thought it was, because I got one or two clean diagnostic runs with the laptop where the car behaved seemingly totally normally. I am going to include that one of those in the video next, because it was the key for me understanding how the car runs normally when it's running properly and seeing the diagnostics for that I was able to identify exactly what was wrong when I caught the car misbehaving on diagnostics. So I'm going to play that bit of footage now and I'll talk you through it. And well, I learned a great deal from this diagnostics, so I think you'll find it pretty interesting. So I've got the footage of me driving the car down in the bottom left, and this is the live graph of all the data that's coming through on the laptop, exactly synced up with the drive. Now, there's two parts of acceleration in this clip. One that you're seeing now, as I'm accelerating towards the roundabout. And then after I go through the roundabout, I do a portion of near wide open throttle in third gear, and I accelerate from about 30 miles an hour to about 70 miles an hour. And the diagnostics gives us some really interesting results from this. And just to reiterate, this is a bit of diagnostics where the car, what I think, was driving normally. However, I still hadn't actually fixed the problem. And my only hypothesis for that is it was a cool evening. You can see my engine's running about 80 degrees. And in the next part, where I actually find the problem, ambient temperature is nearly 40 degrees. And my engine's running 85 to 90 degrees. So it could be something to do with the temperature. But what we're looking for here is what the important part of this graph I'm going to talk about the most is going to be the lambda sensor signal. Now, when that lambda sensor signal gives us a reading in millivolts, earlier on in the clip or on the graph, you can see this value oscillating from anywhere from 50 to 100 millivolts to around 800 millivolts. This is the exhaust oscillating between rich and lean, and that ECU trying to find that middle ground around 400 millivolts is where its ideal operation is. So I've just circled that here, and you can see that it's somewhere near the upper limit now. So in this next screenshot, I've got I've just circled just before the first acceleration within that clip, and you can see there's not much air. That's the green line. Not much air going into the engine. It is a cruise. The engine's not under much load, and you can see the lambda sensor reading rich, lean, rich, lean. This tells me that, at least in this condition, the car is perfectly capable of fueling itself correctly, which is also shown in this next little screenshot I've got during the 2 bits of large acceleration. So the arrow points to the lambda reading during the first acceleration. You can see that the lambda sensor reads rich during the whole acceleration. And in the second one, you can see it's even longer. So what this shows me as well is that the car is able to fuel correctly even at high loads. You can even see in the top graph, we've got high engine load. You can see that green line, lots of air being sucked in, lots of petrol being burnt, and the car is able to maintain its rich condition, its ideal air-fuel ratio for acceleration. Now, this is when the car is running properly, and in the next clip, this changes. But before I show you this next clip, just a bit of context. I decided to take the car to work on a really hot day, and it started to misbehave. I thought I'd fixed it with the crank sensor, so I was pretty upset at this point. It's really hot, lots of work's been put in, but I took this as an opportunity to catch the car in the act with the laptop. And luckily I did, and it helped me get to the bottom of it finally. So here's that footage.
Where's my mouse? Got it. It's misfiring really bad. It's really busy. It's really hot. I can't bother. It's doing it all the time now. It's not happy at all. It's not happy at all, mate. Right, it's died. So we'll see what happens there.
So unfortunately, because I'm a melon, I didn't make the graph laid out in exactly the same way as the previous diagnostics. So this time, the bottom graph shows air intake, so the amount of air, and the yellow is lambda. So there are 2 spikes in red on that bottom graph, and the first spike is where I point out that misfire in the clip you've just seen. And what you can see there is that it looks nothing like the first bit of diagnostics. The lambda sensor immediately goes lean under that large acceleration, and it does not hold it like it did before. And if you look at the second spike as well, that's another bit of acceleration where I notice it can't rev again, and it does exactly the same thing. But more interestingly is at the end. So this is a snapshot right at the end of that drive. The car actually began to slow down. It could not accelerate at all. I had to drift over to the side of the road. I tried to rev it to keep it alive, but eventually the engine stalled. And you can see this perfectly in the diagnostics. You can see those 3 red spikes. That's me trying to rev the engine to keep it alive. And you can see that yellow graph, the lambda signal, is just flat. It's completely zero, hardly any fuel. And it's only when I turn off the engine that lambda signal comes back, or I let off the throttle, that it's able to refuel itself properly. Now, the way I've interpreted all of this is that I think the car is unable to provide enough fuel. Because what I'm seeing is as soon as I ask for big acceleration, the exhaust is reading really lean. So that's my interpretation of it, that the car is having a fuel supply problem. It can't get the fuel it needs to achieve its correct air-fuel ratio. So I've decided that I had to change the fuel pump. But what I found was really interesting. So it's come down to it. I've got to change the fuel pump. I've got one ready to go. I have had these seats out before to do the airbag, and I have changed the seal across the top of the fuel pump, so I know how to do it. It's not a super pleasant job, to be honest, because I'm trying to work in a space, that I'm 6'3" and I don't fit in here, so it's really awkward working. But I've done it before, so hopefully it should be all right. So stop talking and let's just get it over with. If you could see how I'm cramped up right now to do this, you'd feel sorry for me. God. Right. There we go. So I've located the correct spanner to get these off, and I'm sitting awkwardly in the car, so I've got to get all these off now. Now, does this smell? No, it doesn't. Cool. Okay. Right, I'm going to undo the sender, and I'm going to undo the pump. Oh, I can. That connector looks dead clean. What was that? So that's just pulled out somewhere. Oh, okay. It is one of the studs. That one. I have and torch. Can I put you somewhere? Are you gonna stay? Oh, look at that. Beautiful. There we go. So you can see what I'm doing now. I need to get these off. Yep, they're hard to get off. There we go. One. Looks like a return. I don't know, I'm guessing. And then this one. 99 RON. I only feed this car V-Power. There we go. Lovely. Lovely and delicious. So now we're ready to crack the retaining cylinder. Now, I've had this off recently, you know, in the past sort of 6 months. So it shouldn't be too bad, which it's not. Oh my God, how did you get all the way over there? Let me out. There we go. Delicious. One fuel pump retainment ring. Put you here. Now, this is the part I'm worried about because we put a new seal in. This is gonna, oh no, it's not. Fine. Anxiety removed. Sometimes things go well when you're doing these jobs, you know, but very occasionally. The bit where either everything goes really good or everything goes really bad. So this, I think this torch is gonna have to come out. I might have to put him, like, I don't know. Okay, no light. We don't get to see what's going on. Okay, I don't know how much. Okay, I can hear it draining out the tank. Is this seal gonna have to come with us? Yeah, it is. Okay. Come with me, Mr. Tank. Why aren't you? Hmm? Oh. That's not good news. Are you fouling on something above? Okay, we have a fuel pump out, and I think I've spotted the reason why we're having this issue already. Now I'm going to try and tip any fuel that's left in here. Okay, something just fell down there. There we go. See if I can get all that. Oh no, what was that? Oh, it's a bit of fuel pump. Hopefully I'll be able to fish that out. This, my friends, is carnage. Look at that. Oh my God. The rubber that holds the fuel pump in place has just disintegrated. And I know one bit fell in the bloody it safe to do this? Putting your hand into a petrol tank, is that recommended? There we go. Okay, I've got the big chunk. Join me on top of a wheelie bin. I've got the pump, and it's pretty clear why my pump is underperforming. This rubber bit that holds the pump steady in the middle of the assembly has completely disintegrated, which again, it's nice of it to do that. So I'm surprised this thing was even working at all. Luckily I can get another one of these rubber bits. I mean, look at it, man, it's made of like hopes and dreams. Also this straw, it's not connected to anything. I don't know where it goes. So I'm going to disassemble this and see what we can do. This rubber fuel line looks okay. What's on the bottom of this thing? Anything? Not really. I assume that's just the return, and that's where it vents. Whether there was any rubber feet on that at any point, I don't know. Well, they're not there anymore. Not great. We've got the pump largely disassembled. Looks like we've got the pump goes in, throws it through here, out, and then the return comes into this thinner one, goes around the outside, and it hits the bottom of this, so I assume it sends the petrol like a whirlpool around the bottom, which is cool. Now I've got the seal out, there's really nothing in there. It's just full of black crap, and I've managed to get the mesh screen out, and luckily it's all right actually. That's just going to need a mega good clean, and I should be able to reuse that. This feels like Play-Doh. The new pump, I've just checked, looks pretty identical to the old one, which is really good. So this is good to go. It's got exactly the same connector on it, so good news. Overall not bad. I need to order one of these seals. Luckily I can get one, stroke of luck. So I'll get that ordered, and I'll join you in a few days once this is all cleaned beautifully. The fuel pump is rebuilt. It looks brand new with a new seal. So here we are. It's all been fully rebuilt. We've got new pump. We've got the brand new rubber pump holder. I've put new clips. This bit of hose is new. The old one was not making a great seal. I did notice on the leak, the fuel pressure leak down test, I was losing quite a lot of pressure after turning the ignition off. And I think the culprit was here. The one-way valve in the pump was okay before, but this fitting between this tube and the top of the pump was, I could take it off without taking the clip off. So brand new hose on. It feels really nice, really strong. Breather tubes back in. Everything's been cleaned out very thoroughly. Connected. I've put a dab of fuel resistant epoxy resin in that corner because that plastic had just started to crack, but this is steel reinforced now. All good. So only one thing for it is to put it back in the car. At this point I also decided to change the fuel filter. This is the inline fuel filter that comes just after the pump before it gets to the fuel rail at the front of the car. This is just behind the driver's rear wheel. It's not an easy job if you can't lift the car. I did end up lifting it a little bit to get it out. The reason I changed this filter as well was because obviously the pump has been ingesting the rubber holder that holds it in the fuel pump assembly, and as you'll see, when I took out that filter, I cut it open and it was full of rubber, so that would have been restricting its flow a little bit, and I'm very glad I changed it for the sake of a £10 filter. It was well worth doing. So very carefully thread this in. Okay. And then start this lowering down. Not knocking too much rust off the side. Okay, that's fouling on something. There we go. It's in. You can hear it hitting the fuel. I've got the lid to start threading, so I can go get my screwdriver and start pushing that on a bit better. There we go. And then we could connect the whatever this is, fuel level sender, and we can also connect the actual pump. There we go. So now it's time to test it. So the battery's connected. Let's see what it sounds like. If I can get the key out of my pocket. Oh, that's really quiet. Wow, I can hardly hear that. We'll do a few primes, see if we can get some fuel into the system. That's really quiet, that is, gosh. Sounds good. Don't know what that was. I assume that was it coming down the return. We've definitely got fuel going around the system. Good. Can't smell anything. That seal must be alright. Okay, well, should we see if it runs? Yeah, why not? Right, let's turn you off. So I'm going to try to start the car. I'm quite nervous. I did spend a long time rebuilding that pump. I really don't want to have it out the tank again. I really, really don't want to. I think I've primed all the fuel system now. I think I could hear fuel coming out the return line. Fingers crossed, let's see if it runs. Okay, so there we go. Let's see what happens. hear many things happening inside the tank. Okay, it's quiet now. I can hear it running. It's quite high pitched. It's that was a good start though. That ran well. Can it do some rev? Seems to be okay. I think we've got it, folks. I think that's it. Pump swap successful. How about that? Nice. The car's done. It runs. The pump is way quieter. I can hardly hear it prime now. I mean, if you listen out for it, you can hear it, but that new pump is so dead quiet. My sort of DIY bodgery pump assembly rebuild seems to have been all right. We'll take it for a test drive later with laptop attached, and let's look at the fuel trims. Let's see how it pulls. And tomorrow, Cobra. Welcome to the end of the video. It's been a marathon sorting this problem, at least for me. It was really difficult to get to the bottom of it. I think partially because I just really didn't want to change the fuel pump, so I wanted to try everything else before I got to that stage, which was probably a mistake because I kind of knew in the back of my mind that, you know, we probably have got some kind of fueling issue here, but the way it only sort of happened at high temperature is still boggling. I don't actually know, looking at that fuel pump, how this car was running at all. There was so much black rubber in the fuel filter, there was black rubber in the fuel tank, in the fuel pump assembly. That thing had absolutely disintegrated. I'm really surprised this car drove as well as it did, given the circumstances. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. Diagnostics is an extremely powerful tool. Next video, this car has been to Kerberry Sprint Circuit with the Alfa Romeo Owners Club, and I've got footage of that day. It performed great. I'm really excited to show you that, but that'll be coming next week. So please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.